What's going on, everybody? Terrell Friday here with another installment of the DSE series. Today, we have Ms. Michelle Nguyen from Boston University Henry M. Goldman School of Dental Medicine joining us. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thanks for taking some time and speaking with us and giving some good information to all the pre-dents out there watching.
No problem. My pleasure.
So if you could, just give everyone out there a brief reintroduction. Just tell everybody where you're from, where you went to undergrad, what you majored in, and then what year you're in right now.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Michelle. I'm currently a third year at Boston University School of Dental Medicine. I'm from Connecticut, so I went to undergrad at the University of Connecticut, and I majored in molecular cell biology.
Okay, well, so did you go directly from undergrad to dental school, or did you do a master's? Or?
No, I actually did a master's here at the BU Medical Campus, and I did my master's in oral health sciences.
Okay. So is that the only year that you took in between?
Yeah, so I went from undergrad straight into the oral health sciences program, or OHS, and then I matriculated straight out to D1. So I technically didn't take any like gap year because every single year I was in school, but I didn't go to dental school directly.
Right. Okay. So, this is the burning question that, all pre-dents have. We had it when we were going through the whole process, is what is your number one tip for doing well on the DAT?
So I think if I had to go back and tell myself a tip, it would be to practice my time management, because when I was studying for the DATs, one of the biggest mistakes that I think I did was I studied everything subject by subject. I didn't kind of practice everything, like a little bit of everything all at the same time. And then also when I was doing that, I didn't practice the time management. So on test day, I found myself kind of struggling for time, specifically when it came to the PAT section and then also the math section, because with the math section, you have the calculator on the screen and you have to press like each little like key with the mouse, which took up a lot more time than I thought it was going to take. And so I almost ran out of time for that. And then I also almost ran out of time for the PAT section. So definitely practice time management to everyone taking the test.
Okay, perfect. So you spoke a little bit earlier about, you doing the master's program at BU.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess along with that feeder program, do you guys have any other like prospective or any type of programs or events for prospective students? Or and also, could you speak a little bit more about that program?
Yeah, so the reason why I decided to do a master's program was because honestly, at UConn, I just felt like I had more to prove. So my first 2 years transitioning into college, I didn't really know what to expect. UConn is notoriously known to be a very rigorous school, very research heavy, and I didn't have my study skills down packed. So my GPA my first 2 years were not the best and not where I wanted to be. So I knew going into my junior and senior year, if I wanted any chance of even applying to dental school, I really had to pick it up. And so I really, stuck my face in the books and achieved that goal. But overall, I think like my cumulative GPA still wasn't where I needed it to be. So I decided to look into different options. So I looked into post-bac programs versus master's programs and like what I should really do. So I ended up applying to UConn's post-bac program, actually got rejected. And then I found out about the OHS program through a friend that was a dental student at BU at the time. I decided to actually, because I'm a very proactive person, I decided to actually drive all the way up to Boston one day after I graduated from UConn. And I met with the program director of both the dental school and the master's program. And I basically preached my story. I sold myself to both of the people. And so at the dental school level, she did tell me, she was like, you could apply right now if you wanted to, but you are at that middle range where it could go either way. And then she further confirmed what I was looking into for the master's program. And she said, If you want to strengthen your application more and kind of hone in some more of your science skills, I recommend you to go talk to Dr. Davies, who is the program director of OHS. And I didn't know the campus at the time, so she's like, it's this building right here, right across the street. Just go on in. Like, I'll let her know that you're on your way.
Yep.
So I met with her that day as well. And mind you, I did not have a meeting for any of this. I just walked straight in. I was that determined. And I met with Dr. Davies, and I had my transcripts ready. I had an essay like pre-written. I had my resume already in a folder as well. So I had everything laid out for her. And yes, I was very prepared. You always have to go into everything prepared. Mm-hmm. So she looked at everything and she was like, I think you would be the perfect candidate for this program. I wish you applied earlier. And she said that the slots are filling up like really, really fast because there's only 40 people for the program. She's like, but fill out the application right now and like when you get home and we'll review it. So I filled it out right away. I just had like a really good feeling about it. Yeah. I submitted it, and then about a couple weeks later, I got the acceptance, and then I was on that journey. So other than the master's program, I think BU does do a really good job incorporating the pre-dental students if anybody has any interest. So besides that, we also have Impressions Day. So that is run by SNDA, which is like a group that a lot of dental schools have. I was a part of it for the last couple of years. And so basically what it is it allows students to come in and kind of like be a dental student for the day. They come in and we serve them breakfast, and then they'll take a tour of the school. They'll go into our simulation lab and do whatever drills we've prepared for that day. They get to talk directly to faculties, other students. It's very hands-on, and like you can just basically get a feel of the school, get a feel of how it would be if you were a dental student. I highly recommend that day. I did it when I was in undergrad, so I loved it, and I knew I just had to get on that when I was on the other end, because always give back like when you can, because it's a hard journey. So we have that, and then I also think we have a pre-dental committee on the ASDA level, and that they pair you with like a big. So I know we work specifically with the BU undergrad students. Okay. So you're kind of like a mentor to like a pre-dental student, and whatever questions you have, like we'll answer them, and then like if you want to meet with your little, or what exactly, like however you want to get involved, like you can do it to like your preference. So I think those are like the three main like things how pre-dental students can kind of get like assimilated into the culture here at BU. Okay.
Yeah. So for you, huh? Oh no, I thought you said, I'm sorry. But
no, I said that was a lot.
no, it's perfect. This is good information and definitely useful for a lot of pre-dents out there. So, but for you, when you were applying to school and everything, how many schools did you end up putting on your short list of schools to send out your application to?
Yeah, so basically, since I ended up applying while I was in the master's program, okay. So you can apply to as many schools as you wanted to, but realistically, I knew I wanted to stay in Boston, and then BU ended up being my top choice because when you do the master's program, you get exempt from certain classes. So the way the master program works is that you take physiology, microbiology, and biochem at the master's level, but it's the same course as a dental student. So if you were to become a D1 at BU, you already got credit and a grade for that class. So your first year course load was cut dramatically because of that. So for me, I only applied to actually BU and Tufts, which was very ballsy, and I applied last minute. So yeah, I only applied to 2 schools.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
So how was your interview at BU?
Yeah, my interview at BU was a lot of fun because I was already a student at the dental school, which like gave me like an advantage when I was with the other group of like interviewees. And everybody's like, okay, she basically already goes here. Like, why is she here? But it was nice. The faculty were not intimidating at all. Didn't ask any hard questions. I think they basically just asked me, like, if I remember correctly, just like my personal reflection on my growth between like undergrad versus like master's program, and how I think that would help me out, like, well, if I was a dental student there. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, you had a kind of a unique experience with
Yeah,
that
exactly. It was very unique.
having that, but I'm sure they keep it very light for everyone coming through.
Yeah, exactly. They do.
Yeah. So after you you went through your interview, you got your acceptance letter and everything. You show up to school. How was it? Transitioning into school. How was the curriculum set up? And then how are you guys transitioning into like the clinical aspect, the clinical aspect of dental school?
Yeah, so because so for me and then some of my other classmates who matriculated straight through the master's program, because we had a lighter course load, there was a lot of pressure to continue to do well because we weren't taking as many classes as all the other D1s. So I think their transition for me was pretty smooth. But I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, you have a lot of free time now. Like, what are you doing with that free time? Personally for me, like I spent that free time just like studying as much as I could all the other classes because I felt like I had no excuse to kind of drop the ball like my first semester, and like I needed to still prove myself that like I earned this spot and like I'm here and I can still like do it with like all the other students. So the first semester was pretty reduced for us. And then other than that, we were like back on like the normal like curriculum with all the other students. And at BU, the first 2 years is a lot of didactics, and you're in the simulation lab. I think same for Tufts, I believe. So we were in the simulation lab pretty much like from the beginning. I thought it was so cool, like finally learning how to drill and touching like the handpiece. I was like geeking out about it. So the first year, you're practicing a lot of like operative cases. Second year, you are basically learning every other specialty and procedure that you need to transition to clinic, which is third year. I thought personally the school did a pretty good job of that transition into clinic. I personally really liked my transition into clinic. I felt like it was evenly spaced out, like for me. And also, speaking of the clinical transition, so BU has a group practice model. So the class size is 117 students, and then when you go into clinic, you can they put you in little groups 1 through 8, I believe, 8 or 9. I'm in group 5, and then each group has kind of like a supervising faculty that overlooks like all the students. Right. And depending on like kind of like the patients that you get and what procedures come your way, they kind of like assign you like a patient load. And the school really does try to make sure like you're doing kind of like the simpler procedures first. So for us, it'll be like a data collection, which is like a comprehensive exam to kind of like do the probings of the patients, then prophies or cleanings, and then you will work your way up for to do like operative and like removable cases, etc. So that was my transition into clinic. I just looked out that way. I know other people were like they got like thrown in, so I also think like a lot of it has to do with luck. But I just lucked out and I was like paced out throughout the entire like journey so far.
Okay, smooth.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last few questions here as we start to wrap up. You only have the BU experience for dental school, but what is something you feel like is or has been unique to your experience so far, or very unique about that school?
I feel like my experience has been unique overall, but to the school, I think one thing that I appreciate about BU is that I think at the end of the day, when you graduate, you are going to become your own individual like dentist. So they're not trying to like mold you to be like this one stereotypical like type that everybody might think about like when they think of like a dentist. Like they really try to foster your individuality, and they give you a voice, and they kind of let you explore that, like obviously stay professional, etc. But like I do feel like I'm my own person, and I feel like I wouldn't have gotten that experience if I went to like another school.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so the last question before we close is if you could go back and tell the younger version of you while you're still applying to school and grinding to get that acceptance letter, if you could give yourself any advice, what would that advice be?
That advice would be to have a lot more confidence in yourself and trust the process, because when you don't have confidence in yourself, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I feel like you will trick yourself into doing worse than you actually can do if you don't believe in your abilities. And also, like, everybody has like their own timeline of getting into dental school. Like, I thought doing a master's program was going to be like the worst thing that ever happened to me. Like, I cannot believe like I have to do a master's program to get to dental school, but it was honestly one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And I'm so glad that I did it. And I'm so glad that that was a part of my story. So that's what I would tell people.
Perfect. I couldn't say it any better myself. But again, Michelle, thank you for taking some time out and speaking with us. And I'm sure the audience gained a lot of great information about BU, through this whole conversation.
Well, thank you for having me.
Definitely. So if anybody has any questions for you specifically about BU or about your journey into dental school, or just want to kind of pick your brain a little bit, I guess how can they get in touch with you?
You can DM me on my Instagram, which is, hold on, let me just get my handle right because I might have changed it. It's go. At Michelle, so MICHELLEYX14.
Okay, there we go. All right, Michelle X14. We'll make sure we put that down in the description box so everybody can just click the link and get in touch with you via Instagram. If you guys have any questions for myself or Tyler, you guys can head over to Instagram, follow us at _FutureDDS, send us a DM there. We'll be able to get back to you as soon as we can. And as always, hit that like button, subscribe button, and the notification bell so you know whenever we post up new content. But until next time, it's going to be a end of the episode. You guys be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.